calculation of electric field. First, we will find the electric field due to the point charge. We have defined electric field is E equal to F oblique Q naught. This is the general definition of the electric field, where charge Q naught is a very small or negligible. By Coulomb's law, we can write force is 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q naught by R square. This implies that magnitude of E will be F is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught by R square, and this is divided by Q naught. This Q naught will be cancelled out. So electric field strength due to a point charge Q at a distance R will be given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square. And we have already given a note that if charge is positive, field is outward. This is E, and at a point, this is Q charge. At a distance R, the electric field strength will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square. And if charge is negative, field will be inward. Now we have to calculate the electric field due to system of N charges and point charges. We have found electric field due to a point charge is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q oblique R square. And if we put into the vector form, it is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square and radius vector R, unit vector. And this is for positive Q. And if charge is negative, we have to use 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught minus Q oblique R square and unit vector that can be written as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q oblique R square and minus R. It means if this is a positive charge, electric field will be outward along the radius vector R. But if it is negative charge, then electric field will be inward and it is opposite to the radius vector R. Now if there are the n number of charges, and due to that n number of charges we have to find the electric field at a particular point P, then we have to use the principle of superposition, in which we will find the electric field due to the individual charges and then add them vectorally. So if E1 is the electric field due to charge Q1, which is at distance R1 from point P, and its radius vector is R. Similarly, E2 is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q2 by R2 square and radius vector R2, and so on. Then vector E equal to, these are the vectors, vector E will be equal to the sum of these vectors, E1 plus E2 plus and so on, and we will add them. It will be Q1 oblique R1 square, R1 unit vector. Similarly for Q2 we can write, and so on. And finally we can write it as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is common, it will be taken out, and then summation of Qi by Ri square into Ri unit vector. This is the vector due to the system of n point charges at a point P. Next case we will take, in which we have to find the electric field due to a continuous charge distribution. Electric field due to continuous charge distribution. There are many cases in which charge is distributed on a body which are continuous in nature. For example, suppose there is a rod, or there is a ring, there may be a disc, there may be a sheet on which charge is distributed, or there may be a cylinder, hollow, or there may be a cylinder that is the solid cylinder on which charge is distributed along the volume. Similarly, there may be a hollow sphere in which charge is distributed along the surface only, and there may be a solid cylinder, solid sphere on which charge is distributed throughout the volume. So in these cases, we have to use the method of integrals. That is, electric field E equal to, we will use the formula this similar way. It is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. While we are using the continuous charge distribution, we will replace this sigma with integration. So E equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integration, and then take an elementary charge dq, which is at a distance r square from the point P, where we have to find the electric field and the radius vector of that point. So this will give the electric field due to the continuous charge distribution. For continuous charge distribution, we have to take an elementary charge and then we have to integrate to find the electric field. For example, if we have a rod, in that case, we will take the elementary length, say dx. If its linear charge density is lambda, lambda means q is the total charge on the rod and L is the total length of the rod, then its linear charge density is lambda. And for elementary length, charge on this elementary length will be dq, and we will write it as lambda dx. Similarly, if this is a ring, along this ring we take an elementary length dl, and if lambda is the linear charge density, that is equal to total charge divided by total length, and length will be 2 pi r if r is the radius of this ring. Then charge on this length dl will be lambda dl. Similarly, if it is a disk, it is a disk. This is the case of ring. This is the case rod. If it is a disk, then in that case we have to take an elementary area, because this on the disk charge is distributed over the area, and for that we can say if total charge is q and area of this disk is pi r square, if r is the radius, then we can write q by pi r square. This is the sigma, this is the surface charge density, aerial charge density. In that case we have to take an elementary area. In general symmetrical case, we will take an elementary ring of radius say small r with thickness dr. So this is the elementary ring whose charge will be treated as a elementary charge. So this radius is r and thickness of this ring is dr. Then we can say area dA will be equal to 2 pi r, that is the circumference of the elementary ring, and its thickness, that is dr. So it will give area, then elementary charge will give 2 pi r into dr. This is the area multiplied by surface charge density sigma, that is equal to 2 pi r dr into sigma is q by pi capital R square. In similar way we can do for other cases.